All right. Now, one of the main topics that we try to cover, right, is the cross. Right. So we're talking about there's always a cross, but there's a lot of different crosses, right? But it's just the concept of the cross is always the same. So, like each joint can have its own cross. We talk about the. Let me turn this way. Yeah. So we talk about like the sternum height. So that gives us like the upper center point. And we talk about the center of mass. So the center of mass will have a cross. We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about this cross, like after we turn the camera off, because when we start doing some of the drills, we're going to start working on a drill that will target like each of the four quarters of the cross. So that's one way of looking at the cross. But now another thing that I want to cover in this video in particular is going to be the cross at the point of contact, right? And so I think that a lot of people have a hard time like grasping like the practicality of this concept, right? So it seems really esoteric, but it's actually not really that. So if we let's say, because we're going to have a point of contact, right? So wherever from this point of contact, we're going to have a cross. So if we just look at this axis, one axis at a time, right? So it's just like when we're training the three planes, right? Or we're training the sphere, right? We're training space. The sphere has X, Y, Z. But before we do all three, is easier. Before you do a sphere, a circle is easier because there's only two, right? Forward and backward, side to side, up and down, forward and backward. Like Jam Chen says, one cannot unify. You need two, right? You need two to unify. And if you have two, that means you have three. Because we're going to have the line, right, or the axis, and then we're going to have immediately on either side of that axis. So, like, all the cross comes down to is just recognizing, like, this pressure or this pressure, right? Because or this pressure. Like, if I have, like, one side is going to be heavier than the other, or this side is going to be heavy, or both sides will be the same, right? But it still gives us 3 points because we have immediately on either side of this line, like come in closer, all right? So that we see it's like we have this line where they touch that's neutral. It's neither, you can say it's like neither yin or yang, right? So that's our neutral line that we're always talking about. And then the pressure on either side of that like imaginary line, like this pressure can be heavier, or this pressure can be heavier, or the pressure can be balanced. It can be the same on either side. So if we just change the orientation, right? So then we have the same thing that now we have 1, 2, and 3 in the middle, like where it's neither, but where they touch. So then again, it's the same thing. Like I have this pressure, or I can have this pressure. Like this pressure can alternate, right? One side or the other will have more pressure, or that they both have the same pressure. So but what messes people up on that is because it can be so small, right? But if I hold this down as like an axis here, right? So then it becomes more obvious when this side can have more pressure, or this side can have more pressure. And so then if we look like underneath here, like I don't know if you can see on camera, but like from here, like how it will have like some space, right? So if I have more pressure on this side, then on this side is empty, this side is full. I put more pressure on this side, and you can see like there's a little gap under there. So then this side becomes empty, this side becomes full. So you're just tracking the pressure because this axis, this line, separates the left and the right, right? So then as the pressure will change, boom, 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 right? Now, same concept, you just apply it to the other axis. Now we're going to have this axis that's going to divide like behind and in front of, you can say. And then again, it's that the pressure will just change like here or here, here or here. But that gives us 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. Because we have the neutral point is always the center, is always where like yin yang, you can say, touch. So it would be, because now we're talking about this line, right? So then either I can put more pressure here, or I can put more pressure here, or it can be equal pressure. Usually what we're looking for is the equal pressure as the one that's in control, right? When we want to maintain the point as being flat. So when we talk about the point, maintaining the point as flat, that means that I need to apply equal pressure to both sides of that, again, that imaginary line. Or that if I'm here, then I'm going to apply equal pressure to both sides of that imaginary line, as opposed to like one is going to be heavy and one is going to be light, right? Then later on we can play with heavy and light, but just to, again, the point is that we just want to see that from where the point of contact is, of how simple and straightforward the concept of the cross is. So that all you're looking for is the pressure change here or the pressure change here, right? So this will help to make it a little bit more obvious from here, right? So if I hold this from here, okay, let's do it the other way. Let's go from here, right? All right, so we're actually moving around this axis, but we see the pressure change here. Does that make sense? Right? So now, pin the pencil to my wrist. Don't let it go, right? Now, boom. So this is one rotation, right? So this is matching the cross around this axis, but pressure left and right is staying the same, right? Now, if we're here, this one is harder to demonstrate because the pencil's going to be hidden, but we would be changing here, right? Pivoting. So, and then from here, like with this, is rotation. Right, so it's all just a matter of just being able to, but now, okay, so here's the thing, is that we could have this, right, and I'm changing the pressure, like one heavy, one light, one heavy, one light, right? So it really is like one full, one empty, one full, one empty. But they have this imaginary point or line, like where they're crossing, where it's neither, right? So we call that neutral. Now, if I want to make it more obvious, I can do it like this, right? So then I can do one pressure here, one pressure here, one pressure here, here, just like changing back and forth to, like, that would be the equivalent of this pivot, right? Because either I'm increasing pressure here or I'm increasing pressure here, right? And there's a halfway line in between. The skill is being able to shrink this distance until they touch, right? Because that means that you're more aware of when there's pivoting on that point, right? Or I'm more aware from here, because I can have, again, this pivot. I can hold this up from here. See, I can have this pivot on this axis. I can have this pivot. So the skill is always about, like, how soon do you recognize when the pressure is changing, so that, like, if he's going to flow by matching the cross, right? So I make this change so that one side gets heavier, one side gets lighter. So the side that's getting lighter, you can say is like empty, right? So the sooner that he recognizes that change in the pressure that he can match, you see, he's matching the cross. Then we come back, opposite direction. He's matching the cross, right? That's all it is. Just that simple. But simple is not always easy. Okay, but so that's about, at least what we're going to cover in this video, just looking at the cross on the point of contact, so that you can start to relate that now for both spinning hand and sticky hand. Because what are we doing in the spinning hand process, right? Okay, yes, we're changing. We have with the direction of out to in and to out, but at the point of contact, there's pressure. And now you want to observe that pressure at that point for those changes. That's all spinning hands really comes down to, of recognizing like how that you use that pressure to maintain fullness of where the halfway line is, right? That's another topic.